If it's NFL free agency and it's a defensive end, we are talking about it because the Detroit Lions are in desperate need of some pass rushing help. Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil are responsible for the most sacks on the team, and there is a 6.5 sack gap between the two players. The next person after that is Alex Anzalone, not even on the defensive line. So there needs to be something that happens on the defensive line. And it's that time of year. It's speculation. It is hopes and dreams and wishes and time to make videos about potential free agents that could come to the Detroit Lions. Now, although some of these guys, they don't fit for various reasons, whether it's going to be too much money and that's not what Brad Holmes does, or their attitude, or they just lack the grit that you will need to play for the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell said no amount of talent is going to get you on this team by talent alone. And Brad Holmes said that we are very selective of the players that we bring here and that we don't bring here. So there is a kind of a idea of where the Detroit Lions are going to, how they're going to continue to add pieces to this team. Now, I made a very inspired video yesterday because I am a huge believer in, whether you think so or not, I am all about building through the draft. But one thing I'm high on is a free agent. If you go back to Trey Flowers, right? Trey Flowers was the perfect kind of example of when you pay somebody that you shouldn't, okay? Trey Flowers got a $90 million contract for 5 years. He was not worth any of that. His highest sack total in a year was 7.5. You know who else had 7.5 sacks in a year? Romeo Okwara. Okay. And look what he's doing. And Trey Flowers is either not on the league. I think he spent some time with the Miami Dolphins last year, but he might not even be in the league. Last year, we did the same thing. We talked about free agents and we went and got some decent players. David Montgomery, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Cam Sutton. We got some players. But now Brad Holmes is going to have to make a move. And listen, I will not stop talking about this. It's okay to build to the draft through the draft. And during my animated inspired video yesterday, I was trying to simply point out that if you look at the way things are going, if you look at the Super Bowl champions, not every team has a Patrick Mahomes. Let's go back a little bit. The Chiefs are responsible for the last 2 Super Bowl wins. They didn't really bring in a game-changing free agent. You could say they brought in Jawan Taylor, the false start king. He was a high-priced tackle that came from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Other than that, they primarily built through the draft, right? But they also have Patrick Mahomes, who is all by himself a one of one. If you have a Patrick Mahomes, you're talking about a quarterback that elevates the team. That is responsible. Like, he is literally responsible for winning games, along with Travis Kelce. He had 1 catch in the first half and 8 in the second, right? Now you go to the Los Angeles Rams. They brought in Matthew Stafford, Odell Beckham Jr., Von Miller. Those are 3 players that they brought in, and they won a Super Bowl. You go back to the year before that, Tom Brady. Tom Brady wins a Super Bowl. The defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was lights out, right? But they brought in arguably the greatest quarterback for the past 20 years before the one that just won last night. So if you go by, and I think I looked at the last 10 years, and out of the last 10 years, the teams are 5-5, going all the way back to the Seattle Seahawks in 2014. You could argue Marshawn Lynch was that guy, right? Marshawn Lynch, Denver brought in Peyton Manning. So the list goes on and on. So it's at least half the teams that have gone and won the Super Bowl have done something in free agency, a move that is worthy, whether it's a new quarterback or several moves down the line. Now, why did I have to bring in that 4-minute intro? Because I want to cue up this player right here. It feels weird even talking about this because the Detroit Lions have been so tight-lipped, tight pocketbook for the last 3 years that you don't truly expect them to make moves like this. But Brad Holmes did surprise me last year, brought in some very crucial free agents, and believe it or not, Brad Holmes will pay money. He'll pay $10.5 million to a DJ Chark coming off an injury, right? So Brad Holmes will pay money. It's just a matter of where and how much, right? So this is coming from Bleacher Report, and this is 5 potential spots for defensive tackle Chris Jones. Now, I'm big on edge rusher. Edge rusher, my number one priority and target would be Josh Allen. Then it would be Danielle Hunter. But I'm not going to argue and say that I wouldn't be mad at a lights out defensive tackle as well. Here's what they had to say with Bleacher Report. As soon as I can get this transition. Says cap space appears to be on Detroit's side this spring, as the team has an estimated $48 million in available finances. While some of this money will be used to shore up the offensive line, both starting guards are set to hit free agency, and the secondary, the cornerback and safety positions could each see some major overhauls. There should be enough left in the bank to make a market value offer to Jones. Now, we'll talk about that in a minute. Detroit made some strides in 2023 after ranking in the bottom 3 for total and scoring defenses the prior year. Don't forget about Aaron Glenn. But the Lions still finish in the bottom half of the league in both categories. Jones anchored a Kansas City unit that ranked number 2 in both yards and points allowed this past season and could help the Lions reach a similar level if he opts to sign in the Motor City. Now, the good news is we are going to be a free agent destination. Free agent destination. Chris Jones, it's funny because when the season first started and we were talking about Chris Jones when he was holding out, then you guys were very high on him. And I wonder, I'm very intrigued to see what kind of the response is going to be in the comment section to this video. Chris Jones, another kind of aging defensive player, but just like Danielle Hunter, he seems like he is getting better with time. Now, drafted in 2016, all right, 6'6", 310 pounds, coming off a 5.5 sack season, regular season, not including the postseason. Spent his entire career in Kansas City. And the last 2 years combined, this guy has accumulated 26 sacks. If you add a third year, okay, that is 35. If you add another year, I mean, going on and on and on, 75.5 sacks in his career, coming off a 10.5, 15.5, 9, 7.5, 9, 15. His wackest year was his rookie year and then his sophomore year. He literally is getting better and better and better and better and better. Now, what are we going to say when it comes to monetary compensation? Don't forget that the Detroit Lions, they have some in-house stuff to take care of. We talk about this all the time, and I'm not saying that you have to bypass this. I've been hearing some rumblings that Amon-Ra St. Brown may hold out if he does not have an extension in place by the start of the season. That would surprise me because the Detroit Lions, they don't do holdouts. Like, that's not the kind of player that they seem to go after, which is a knock on Chris Jones and Danielle Hunter as well. And to hear that St. Brown is doing it is a bit surprising, or could possibly do it is a bit surprising. Now, we got to take care of St. Brown. St. Brown market value is $26 million. $26 million. Got to figure out what we're going to do with Jared Goff. And you heard what the Bleacher Report article had to say about pieces that we need to fill in as well. We gotta address the secondary. Are we going to bring back C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Priority is defensive line, secondary. After we do St. Brown, will we extend Goff or either one of them guys, or will we let the season play out? That's something that's going to be kind of intriguing to watch. But here is his market value, a 3-year, $85 million deal. That is his market value at $28.4 million. But if we go back to Bleacher Report, no, that was a different article that I'm thinking of. So you're talking about 3 years, $85 million. Currently, he is the 8th highest paid defensive tackle, the 65th highest paid NFL player. He would rank second, probably under who? Aaron Donald. I forgot. Aaron Donald is the highest paid based off, well, it's Nick Bosa now. But he would be up there with, as a DT, he would be up there with Quinnen Williams and those guys, right? 3-year deal, $28 million. That's steep. That is steep. But you guys say trust the process, and I am trusting the process. And I'm also trusting that Brad Holmes knows how to handle the money as well. You go back to Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, bringing in Trey Flowers. You overpaid for a guy that was not worthy of even half that money. But these guys here, and I want to remind you that all the dogs, if you play well, they pay well. Deion Sanders said that the best. So eventually, and this is what I'm trying to tell y'all, and I hope that you understand that this is how the game goes. You got two different options. You can either keep replacing people through the draft once their first contract runs out and they're up for a big payday. You can keep replacing them, or you're going to have to pay your players eventually. And our first taste of that is going to be St. Brown this year. Next year, you know who it's going to be? Penei Sewell. So if you start to draft good players, eventually you have to pay those guys too. Joe Burrow got a massive deal. Jamar Chase, he's waiting on one himself, right? So either way it goes, you're going to have to pay to keep good players, or you're going to have to pay to get good players in free agency. Chris Jones, I'm going to be real. We get anybody worth this like this on this team. Chris Jones, Danielle Hunter, Josh Allen, Brian Burns. Brian Burns now is like my last resort. He's my last guy. But if we pay somebody of this caliber that can make a difference in the backfield. We saw it yesterday. Chris Jones, I can't remember if he had a sack yesterday, but I know that on 3rd down and 4, he was the difference between, he was also unblocked, but he was the difference between a potential touchdown, because if you go back and you watch the play, Brandon Ayuk was wide open in the middle of the field. The defender fell down, but Brock Purdy didn't have enough time to see him. And one thing you can say about the Detroit Lions is these guys have forever to throw on our defensive line. We get pressures, but we can't get to the quarterback. So let me know. Do you believe that Chris Jones is a legit landing spot for the Detroit Lions, that he would land there? And this is a safe space today. All right. I noticed that some of you are afraid to put your true feelings in the comment section. Okay. Especially if you think that they're going to go against the status quo. But this is a safe space, and you can do that here. If you want the Detroit Lions to spend some money on a game-wrecking player, it is okay to put that in the comment section. This is a safe space for you if you feel like that, because you know I do, and you know I'm going to say it. But I've been right a lot of the times. Go check the receipts. I'll be right, bruh. For real. Straight up. Here's what I was trying to say yesterday as we wrapped the video up. The 49ers lost because of Patrick Mahomes. And I said this yesterday. Patrick Mahomes is a one of one. One of one. He said last night that he's always going to be mad that Tom Brady beat him. And the one Super Bowl he lost out of the 3 he's won, he lost to Tom Brady, right? So you have to bring in game changers one way or another. You have to pay people. It's either going to be your internal people to keep them, or, because you better believe, I guarantee you St. Brown is not taking a hometown discount. I guarantee you that. So let me know your thoughts, man. These videos are going a little long because there's a lot to talk about, but I want to know your thoughts. Chris Jones, let me know. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.